Hey, what up? It's Tampa Brad back at you with book number 7 of my 20 books for 2020. And book number 7 is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Now, this probably sounds like a little bit of like an internet serial entrepreneurial book, right? Wrong, not at all. What E-Myth stands for is the entrepreneurial myth. And what that means is most entrepreneurs, they start out as employees, right? You worked for your dad's pizza shop, or you worked at a surfboard rental place, and you see the business and you're like, oh, I'm good at this. I'm great at making pizzas. Oh my God, I should go into business for myself. Other people tell you that. Your mom believes in you, so she tells you to go into business for yourself. And so you do. And so now you open up a pizza shop, or a surfboard rental place, or a fountain making facility, I don't know. And you go into business for yourself, and you spend the first year, you know, you're like, I need clients, I need clients, I need clients. And you're going out and you're meeting people, and you get some new business, and you make a little bit of money, and you're like, wow, okay, I'm making pretty much the same amount I did as an employee, but I get to kind of work my own hours, I get to meet new people, this is exciting, it's new. Then year 3 rolls around, and you're like, wow, I'm making basically the same amount I was as an employee, and my stress is like 5x. In fact, I tried to hire a couple people, and none of them worked out, and it seems like I'm having to hire someone and continue to do their job, and nothing is working. Why is this happening to me? Why did I go into business for myself? Why does anyone go into business for themselves? And that frustration is very real and valid, and it's felt by a lot of business owners. So I was looking up the statistics for this book a while back when I was posting about it, and I was like, you know, this percentage of businesses go out of business in the first 10 years. It's actually stunningly low. 50% of businesses actually make it past the first 5 years. A lot of businesses actually make it to 10 or 15 years, but very few businesses scale. Very few businesses become a business that the owner is able to work on rather than work in. I'm going to say that again because it's a very important distinction. And I would ask you, do you work on your business or do you work in your business? If you died tomorrow, what would happen to your business? Would it evaporate? Would it go on for a couple weeks and then fizzle out? Or could it continue to grow, actually become better, and continue to produce wealth for your family, your ancestors, continue your legacy, and do all the things you started a business in order to create? Now, for most people, to be honest, myself included, at the point where we're at, the answer is that they're working in their business, and if they died tomorrow, their business would fizzle out slowly over time or stop entirely the day that they died. That's not entirely true for me. I've done a little bit to get further along in this, but I'm by no means an expert and all the way done. Well, I kind of actually would say I'm an expert because I've done so much work in this, but I'm far from finished on my path. You know, we made a couple key hires in our business, so we're getting there. But the biggest thing that this book showed to me is that I was not setting up a system that was sustainable for my life in the future. I realized that the way that I was operating my parents' business, and so I run a family business with my family. It's called Home Love Construction. We do remodeling. We do kitchens, bathrooms, room additions, that kind of stuff. We build shit. So I was doing the sales. I was doing the marketing. I was doing the estimating. I was doing the project management. I was doing the warranty claims. I was doing the accounting, and I was doing a little bit of the regulatory compliance stuff too. I'm doing like 7 different jobs, I realized when I read this book. I was like, holy crap. And actually, honestly, even those could be broken down even further. I'm also doing like negotiation with suppliers, purchasing. There's a whole lot of shit that I was dealing with that was not broken out to different jobs, and we hadn't assigned a dollar amount to the value that those bring to each job or to the business. So after reading this book, what we did was, and I'm just telling my story as kind of an illustrative, I'll bring it back to the book and the principles, but I'm just trying to tell you a little bit about my story just so you can get some context on how I came at this book and how it really brought me a lot of value. Because this is one of those tactical books, so just pay attention and bear with me while I kind of go through our story. So what we did was we brought on a couple key hires that allowed us to remove ourselves, both myself, my dad, and my mom, remove ourselves a little bit from being cogs in the business. That was the key distinction, is where are we being a cog in the business, you know, a cog turning another cog in the machine, to where if we were pulled out or our time was taken away from us, we would no longer be able to fulfill that function, and we essentially would leave a piece out of the system that we were creating. Because if you're doing that, you're actually really not creating a system. You are taking up the slack for the lack of systems building you're doing. And most business owners do this. They use their own time and energy and emotional and mental capital to make up for the fact that they're not building a system. And when they do that, they're burning that mental, emotional capital and time. And those three things you cannot get back. If you want to really reduce it down, time and energy, you can't get those back, okay? Once they're spent, they're gone forever. So you need to be very careful on what you're spending your time on and spend it on something that's going to, in the terms of the author, you do something once and it pays you forever versus doing something once and it pays you once or maybe twice or three times. So what the author, Michael Gerber, says to do in the book, and it's a phenomenal piece of advice, is treat your business, even if it's a tiny cupcake stand in the middle of Indiana, treat it like it's a franchise. Build it as if it's going to be McDonald's. Build your system so that it can be duplicated again and again and again. Because if you build a system that could be duplicated, it doesn't even matter whether you want to be McDonald's or not. But if you set yourself up that way, if you think about McDonald's, how much work does the owner of McDonald's need to do? None, zero. They need to collect their royalty checks and pay for advertising if they want. That's all they have to do because they've set up their system such that they can literally take another business owner and sell the business plan to them. The business owner just comes in and plugs in a couple of their hires, and they have another separate piece of their business there. They have what's called a franchise. If you build your system and create a handbook and systematize everything and write everything down as you're figuring out how best to do it, then it can be duplicated. Then once you train someone to do it, they can just run the system based on the instruction manual that you give them. And I'll tell you, every time that I've spent time doing something like this and spent time working on building a system and something that's repeatable and something that is captured on paper, it has paid off not even 100-fold, probably 1,000 or 10,000-fold the amount of my time. Let's say I value my time at probably right now $125, $150 an hour. It will typically pay off in $15,000, $30,000, $45,000 returns for that 1 hour that I'll spend documenting a process in our business. And that's typically like one job description or one sales process or project management process. If you multiply that out over your business and you have 100 different processes, you're talking about millions of dollars. If you're in the business the size of ours, which is $1 to $2 million a year at the size we're at right now. So if you think about that, the return on your time for building systems is incredibly high. If people spend their time building systems and it's a high rate of return, why doesn't everybody do that, right? It would seem very obvious to just spend all your time building systems and then you just get other people to run them, right? Well, the thing about building systems is it's what Stephen Covey would call a quadrant 2 activity. It's important, but it's not urgent. It's vitally important, but it's not urgent. Building a system, writing your company handbook, that's something that seems like it can wait till tomorrow when you got bills to pay today, right? When you got a customer on your ass calling you every 5 seconds being like, where's my product? You guys didn't show up yet. What's going on? It seems like that is more urgent and the building systems is less urgent, right? But in this case, I would encourage you, and by the way, that quadrant 2 conversation comes from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We'll talk about that later in this video series. You're going to love what I have to tell you about that book. It's phenomenal. But what you have to do in order to get the systems building activity to be a priority to you is you have to play a little trick on your brain. You have to do what Tony Robbins calls turning a should into a must. Everybody's got a long list of things they should do. I should go to the gym. I should eat better. I should stop drinking. I should go and see my kids more often. You got so many shoulds, you should all over yourself. Tony Robbins, I stole that from Tony Robbins, love that joke. But what it means is, if you have a long list of things you should do, you're never going to get to anything. You're never gonna get to the shoulds because it's a fantasy, it's a nice to have, it's a someday I'll do this. It's a pipe dream, to be honest with you, for 99.999% of the people. They will never get to the things that they should do because they don't have leverage on themselves. They haven't gotten to the point to where their biology says, look, I've said for a long time I should do this. Now I must do it. Something's changed in an instant. Something's changed. I have to do this now. You can create that sense of urgency for yourself. And let me tell you why you should create that sense of urgency for yourself. If you are going to live a life to where you're going to work a job you don't like, and then you're going to try to start a business, and you're just going to be unhappy, and it's not going to really work out. You're never really going to grow. You know, you might make like $60,000, $80,000. Like, it'll be okay. You'll never really get to travel anywhere. You never get to really leave the United States. If you do, you'll go into debt. You'll probably wind up living your life. You know, if you have a family and kids, kind of getting more expensive to have that stuff. You know, like okay cars, but you always be in debt. You always feel kind of a little behind the 8 ball. And when you're 85 years old and you're sitting in your rocking chair because you can't afford the best healthcare, you're not gonna live to be 155 like, you know, I will. Pompous statement, yes. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna sit there and you're gonna look back in your life and you're gonna think about all the times that you should have been doing something like, man, I wish I would have built a system. I saw what my friends around me did. They were building systems. Now they have these awesome empires that are keeping their financial well-being going. They get to travel. They get to do what they want with their time. They get to spend time with their friends anywhere they want. They can bring their friends to them if they want because they just have the freedom that awesome finances brings to them. And I'm just sitting here in my rocking chair. And you know, like, yeah, my wife's around. It's cool. Maybe not. But I wish I would have done that. That sense of regret is something that you can't change. You can change it now. If you can visualize and make that scenario real to yourself of how actually unhappy you'll be if you don't take the actions you know you should be taking now, if you can make that so real for yourself that you can feel it, that is the emotional leverage that would get you to take action on the things that you should be doing right now. And if you don't do that, let's actually have some real talk here. How many people do you see above the age of 60 that are actually happy? I can think of maybe 2 out of the hundreds of people I know that are over 60. I think I can genuinely think of like 2, maybe 3, like 60-plus-year-olds who are actually happy with how their lives played out. Who will, you know, most of them will say, yeah, I'm happy, I'm living, I love life. But are they actually, like, do their underlying behaviors and attitudes about life actually reflect that? Are the things they say in passing reflective of that happiness? No, absolutely not. If we're being real, most people are fucking miserable. And it's because they didn't get emotional leverage on themselves to do the things they should have been doing. That's actually what this book is really about. It's about doing the things in your business that you should be doing. And it's nice to say, okay, just build a system. But unless we have the conversation that we're having right now about doing the things that you should do versus the things that are easy to do, the urgent things that are always high on your priority list to do just because someone else is in your face, what you wind up doing is you wind up living out someone else's priority for your life. If you live your life through other people's priorities, then inherently you can't be living a life that's dictated by your own priorities. And don't you want to live a life that's dictated by your own priorities? To me, I find it absolutely unacceptable for myself or anyone I care about to live their life based on other people's priorities. Because I guarantee you, if you don't have priorities and a plan for your life, somebody else does. Hit me up because I got a plan for you. I can put you to work. I can use you. So don't be that person. But actually, even in saying that, I don't like working with people who don't have a plan for their lives. I don't like working with people who aren't driven and motivated. I like people who are like me, who have a plan, who want to execute, and who are willing to prioritize the things they should be doing. I want people who are going to bring me up. You know, I can't be around people who are going to bring me down. And I would encourage you to make that same harsh distinction for yourself. A lot of this is who you surround yourself with, okay? More to follow on that. But the crux of the E-Myth, and we've hit it a couple times, but I just want to repeat it for you to make it really crystal clear, is that in your business, this is all about business, right? If you're not an entrepreneur, if you're not in some sort of business or trying to do it or thinking about doing it for yourself, this really doesn't apply to you. But in business, you have to be thinking about how can I build a repeatable system that gives a consistent output? How can I control as many variables as possible by just giving clear and concise direction, and use that to build systems in your business, make it simple, make it so that other people can do jobs for you and you can take off hats, give them specific job descriptions, and then watch your business not only grow because you have more time to focus on growing it, but then also become simpler because you're forced to simplify that which you write down and systematize, okay? In order to have systems, you have to make things simple. Otherwise, you can't train other people to do them. So that is what you have to do. Now, the other thing you have to do is actually read this freaking book. If you wasted 17 fucking minutes of your life watching a video that you're not gonna do anything about, fuck you. Can you bleep that out? Yeah, we'll bleep that out, but you know what I said. So that is unacceptable to me. If you're in my inner circle and you're doing that, that is unacceptable, and I don't want to be your friend. Just kidding. Still want to be your friend, but you have to take action on this, okay? It's extremely important that if you take in information, you obey what's called the law of use and you actually use it. The universe, I'm telling you, I've done this. I was one of those people who, when I was like 18, 19, 20, 21, I would just watch videos all day, but I wouldn't do anything about it. I'd be like, yeah, that's a really good idea. I should do that. Notice the should came back. I will tell you, I was literally punished, I feel, by the universe, and that's a weird way to look at it, but I was punished for having information and not putting it into use. You have to use the information that's in your head, otherwise, literally, I believe you will get punished for it. I know that's a weird belief, that's a weird thing to say, but I believe it, I've seen it happen, and I think if you're honest with yourself, you have seen it happen to yourself as well. Use the information in these videos, in these books, to better yourself and to better other people. Teach people what you're learning. That's my favorite thing about these videos, is being able to share what I've learned with people. It's amazing, I love it. Do the same thing, I promise you, you'll get a high like nothing else from it. So spread this. Another thing you should spread is my Instagram. It's @TampaBrad. I'm dropping a lot of value there, and it's fun. That's the easiest way to interact with me, to be honest with you. I respond to all my DMs. I don't have that many followers, so it's easy to get in touch with me there. Would highly encourage you to check that out. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. You know, you're not gonna see my videos and you make me sad. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you and your attention. Hope you're having a phenomenal 2020 so far. I'll talk to you very soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.